Hello again. It has been a while, hasn't it? F1 2019 Career Mode Part 79. Today we'll be finishing off the rest of the season. And if you followed my update video from the other day, you'll know why. But for those who missed it, basically I've been very, very busy on the channel with a lot of other side projects, modding videos, online videos, Gran Turismo Sport. I've been having so much fun doing other things that career mode has taken a bit of a sidestep, and I really do apologize for that. But today we are going to make up for lost ground, and we're going to finish off the season in this one video. We have the best part of 4 or 5 races to go, and we're going to cover all of them now. It's been a fun season from a racing standpoint, but from a development race standpoint, from an engineering standpoint, it's been really annoying. Like, we've been making really solid upgrades this season, but, you know, fair play to Cody's. They have increased the rate of development that the AI have been doing as well, and so it's meant that all the upgrades that we've done have kind of been negated, and it's really been a season of 1 step forward, or 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing. But, yeah, that's just kind of where we stand at the moment. And what I want to do is move on to a point where we are in a more competitive car, potentially racing against Lucas Weber or Devin Butler, and really finishing off this career mode journey in style, shall we say. But anyway, we move on to the Russian Grand Prix. This is the very next round after Singapore, which we did in a video 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was an interesting race, an interesting qualifying session. As you saw, we had a bit of a crash, which was not ideal to start the weekend, but I am a little bit rusty when it comes to this game and this car again. But the grid was pretty interesting. We had Devin Butler and Lucas Weber rounding out the front row. More interestingly, that Devin Butler was on the front row because the Ferrari is kind of at the Toro Rosso's level of competitiveness, so that was a big surprise for us. But we are now going to get underway with this first race, the Russian Grand Prix. 5 red lights, and away we go for this first of potentially 5 races in the remainder of what is this season. But turn 1 was an absolute calamity. We made contact with Lewis Hamilton. Bit of a lazy incident there. I definitely could have avoided that a little bit better. But we move on with this race, and you can see really struggling to come to terms with the grip in the tyres. And that is something I'll make mention of a lot over the course of this video. Tyres and tyre temperatures is one of the most annoying things at this stage of the career mode, which I'll touch upon later. But anyway, we got put on the hard compound tyres for this race. My race strategy was supposed to be mediums to softs, but looks like we've been put on the slower strategy, so we'll be diving in for a set of soft compound tyres to finish off this race, and that is exactly what we're doing. We're doing 25% races as well. I really don't think it's going to take away from the amount of action that you're going to see, because basically the strategy is the exact same as a 50% race. The tyre wear upgrades that everyone has means that strategy really isn't an element anymore in these races. And so, yeah, I just wanted to race through the season, and we will still get the same outcome, the same amount of action as what we did previously, with just half the time put in, essentially. But anyway, we put on the soft compound tyres, and we immediately sprung into life. We're doing a massive undercut on those who are going to run long on their softs. All these people you can see on screen here, the McLarens, the Ferraris, Renaults, Williams, and hopefully by the time that they make their stop, we might potentially jump a few guys here as we emerge here on lap 10. We've got Sergio Perez putting us under pressure here on the start-finish straight, and he is going to move himself up in a P13. Unlucky for some. Not exactly for us so far, but Sergio was a real thorn in my side in this race. The straight line speed of the Williams is absolutely phenomenal, and that's saying something, because we've got pretty much all of the drag reduction upgrades. We've got pretty much all the engine upgrades, with the exception of one made or ultimate power upgrade. Apart from that, we are pretty much maxed out, which is another reason why I want to get away from this team, by the way. It's we are nearing the ceiling of this car, and we're still nowhere near competitive if you look at the performance index in the field, but still fighting away here with Sergio Perez. This battle is getting rather heated at this stage of the Grand Prix. running into the side of him there. That's given me a slight tinge of front wing damage. I believe we've lost tiny little elements, maybe even a bit of wing on like the floor of the wing, the base of the wing. That sometimes it can be a bit of a shark bite that comes out of it. So I think that's something that has happened for us, unfortunately. But we move on to the last lap of the Grand Prix, putting Sergio under pressure here for no points. This is all basically for pride. We put in a nice move around the outside into turn 2. That secures us P12, or at least I thought it did, as we head into the middle sector. You can see my front wing is actually more damaged than what it was before, so it seems like it's getting worse with time. Maybe there was another small moment of contact with Sergio that didn't really come up on the indicator. But regardless, Sergio is actually back through for P12. Hamilton now wants a slice of the pie too, as we head into the third sector of this last lap. Sergio Perez basically gifts me P12 by braking so early and holding up Hamilton. It gives me the spot on all of those guys, and that was the Grand Prix.
Thank you for all your hard work out there. That was a strong drive and a good finish. Well done.
So yeah, that was the race. Very, very accelerated and very shortened highlights, but that was all of the highlights regardless. Lucas Weber wins the Russian Grand Prix, and with that he will close the championship lead down by 8 points. It is now currently 19. So yeah, that's another reason why I wanted to race forward as well. I wanted to see what would happen between Max Verstappen and Lucas Weber, because that rivalry for me is absolutely fascinating. Red Bull this season have been head and shoulders the best car all season, and I just want to see how this journey, or how this championship race ends between the two of those guys. But phenomenal battle here between myself and Sergio this race. That was one that I thoroughly enjoyed, but it's just been the motto of this career mode. We've been having phenomenal battles, but for the wrong positions. If only it was for like the top 5 or podium or whatever. With this car, I just don't think we'll get there. But we do one final upgrade for the aero. That is an ultimate front downforce upgrade. That'll go on the car in time for the US Grand Prix, if I am correct. We move on to the next race of the season, and this is Japan, I believe. Upgrade goes on the car, which gives us a boost in performance. We finally overtake another car in the field, which is Renault. Mercedes absolutely shoot up into the midfield, and you would have to say that George Russell and Valtteri Bottas will be poised to really mix it with the big guns now in this championship. So yeah, the story continues. Always kind of there and showing potential, but never really able to get much more than that. P11 was a really good qualifying for us. Danny Kvyat only 4 tenths away, so he's making progress, but perhaps not enough progress at this stage. It's Japanese Grand Prix time, and again, we're going to see if we can utilize the strategy that I did in the last race, and that is go on for, well, I'll try and do what I did last time, but actually make it work this time. Go from mediums to the softs, and then potentially undercut quite a few guys in this field. I think we're starting P10 because of someone's grid penalty, which is certainly a help. That's also something we don't need to worry about at all for the rest of this season, because we took all of those power unit upgrades earlier on, and the durability at this stage is very, very good. 5 red lights and away we go for the Japanese Grand Prix. It's been a pretty shoddy start, and that's something you'd probably expect given they're starting on the medium tyres. But we hold okay ground. P12, trying to squeeze out Sergio Perez, our main rival from the last race, and he puts up a worthy fight, but in the end, the inside is king in the first sector of the lap. We get past the other Williams of Charles Leclerc, and that has us knocking on the door of the top 10 once again. Stroll going very slowly on the back of Russell, and that gives us our starting position once again. But being on the medium tyre, we were massively under threat from those behind us. The Williams, as ever, so damn fast in the straight line. It just makes life very difficult. Bottas, a few laps into the Grand Prix, was suffering some kind of mechanical issue, which was slowing him down, which meant that he fell into our path. P9. And next up we can set after George Russell potentially, but there isn't too much left for us to do now until the pit stop phase. We see Daniel Ricciardo wipe himself out of turn 1. Bit of a... I'm not really sure whose fault that is, to be honest. He dives in there, but he doesn't really do it in an authoritative way. He actually brakes quite early into turn 1. That was actually the issue, and then he got swiped by one of the Haas drivers. We make our pit stop early for soft compound tyres, and we are out again to do the big boy undercuts. Trying to push on as much as we can. You can see George Russell emerging right in front of us. So the undercut has worked, but maybe not by as much as what I would hope it is. But crucially, we have the advantage for the rest of this race, being a compound softer. We put Russell under a bit of pressure into 130. He covers the inside, so we're going to have to go around the outside here into the final chicane. Russell overshoots the chicane, and we are through now into the top 10. Once again, with still a lot of runners left in this Grand Prix to make their stops. Promoted up to P8. Hulkenberg freshly out of the pit lane. Try and overtake him around the outside, but he gives us the big squeeze. And Russell gets his nose in there for good measure as well. But we hold on to P8 in this Japanese Grand Prix. Pace was good in this one. We had the ultimate rear downforce upgrade go on the car for this race, which was a massive uptake in performance for us, by the way, which is why we are contesting quite well inside the top 5 now. We got a major undercut on those ahead of us, and they all battled in that first stint, which really slowed them down, and we were able to get them, as well as us having really good race pace, enabled us to have a really good result here in Japan. Still trying to put Hulkenberg under pressure here on the last lap to get P4, which would equal my best ever result of the season, but we fall just short of that, and it is P5, which is not a bad effort. Max Verstappen wins, further cementing his dominance in the title race. Lucas Weber really needs to get a wriggle on.
Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. The Constructors' Championship may be a foregone conclusion at the moment, but regardless, let's look at the standings. And it's another title in the bag for Red Bull. After a long and hard-fought season, they built an astonishing car this year, and the glory they'll be taking back to Milton Keynes is fully deserved.
Nice. The thing that basically everyone was expecting, Red Bull winning the Constructors. I think they might have actually done it in Singapore, but I can't quite remember. It was that long ago. But every single race, Crofty was announcing that Red Bull had won the Constructors. It was quite worrying in a way, because I feel like Crofty had some shares in Red Bull. He was just shouting their success to the world, but it was an amazing drive. P5. Qualifying pace seems to be a real problem at this stage in the career mode. Tom97 has said it a lot. It's the AI simulation glitch. Whenever you are not on track, if you like skip forward in the session a little bit, if you don't set the last time in qualifying, it means that you get out qualified a little bit. And as well, tire temperatures were a massive problem for my performance in the race. Those issues really kind of dissipated, and it enabled us to move forward a lot in some of these races. But yeah, those were just some of the problems we were facing in this race. And just by doing every single race back to back to back, it really like brought it home for me that I wasn't like terrible at a particular track. It was just one track, or a track here or there was a lot worse than others for tire temps. USA was quite a bad one, which will be coming up in just a minute. But upgrade wise, we're going to do the ultimate power upgrade. That will go on the car for Brazil. So I very much look forward to that boost in straight line speed.
The air may be thin here in Mexico City. The atmosphere is anything but. The crowd have been chanting and singing, not just this afternoon, but throughout the entire weekend. There's a great love for Formula One here, and no small amount of expectation. Let's hope today's Grand Prix can meet it.
Let's hope it can, Crofty. Here we are for the Mexican Grand Prix. Took me a while to figure that one out. We didn't have a good qualifying. Surprise. 18th place. I'm putting full effort into practice, into qualifying, but just some races it just doesn't click for us. It was a dry session, by the way, but let's hope in the race that we can make our way forward. Who knows, the wet weather might be an antagonist for us to wake up some of that pace that is lurking in this car. But very tentative turns 1 and 2. We're going to stick our nose here up the inside of Hamilton into the second part of the chicane. Looks like it has worked for us, but we didn't get a great exit, which is rather annoying on that front. But we're fighting away with Nico Hulkenberg here. One man who we've been fighting with a little bit over these last couple of races. More specifically in Japan. We get a nice little double cut back there, and Hulkenberg and Sainz. Sainz going around the outside here into the middle sector. He gets better drive in that McLaren, which is also making handy progress in the development race, by the way, in the background. They are third best car now or something. So McLaren is certainly one to watch. Ricciardo again continues that horrible run of bad luck. He's DNF'd in every race so far that we've had, apart from maybe Russia. But the rest, he's just had rotten luck. Hamilton as well didn't have a good day. Retirement for him promotes us up into P13. We're now putting pressure on his teammate, Devon Butler, the man who replaced us at Ferrari just only a season ago. Oh, how time moves forward. But probably for you guys, maybe it doesn't move. It's gone very slowly this last season, which I can fully understand. P12, we try and put some pressure on Sergio Perez. He's boxed in behind Kimi Raikkonen, George Russell, and Lando Norris. And so he was just a bit of a sitting duck there. P11, another yellow flag up ahead. And this is actually a big one in the championship. Lucas Weber is out of the Grand Prix. Or at least I initially thought. He was going really slowly. I thought he had an engine problem. And then he just stops on circuit. But I can tell you from hindsight that there's nothing wrong with his car. He's just stopped because I don't think he wants to rejoin the circuit dangerously. It means that he drops to last place in a race where he can ill afford to have any mistakes or have any losses to Verstappen. The gap was, what, 19 points in the championship? Or something like that coming into this race. Max Verstappen wins. It's a 25-point turnaround, and Max could potentially be in a position to win the championship in the next race in USA by virtue of Lucas Weber's big fat zero in this race, which is just phenomenal. If you've been following along the story of career mode the last 4 seasons, Lucas Weber, he's always been there. He's always been like showing massive potential in a very fast car, but for some reason or another, whether it be developments or just bad timing of upgrades and stuff, or just reliability, he just always seems to miss out on that championship, and it looks like it is unfolding that way again in Season 4. This man, I really do feel for him. He's really got to pull his finger out now in the final 3 races and come up with a result or a string of results that is going to get him back in this championship. Max Verstappen, well, he's got one hand on the trophy at this stage. He's going to have to hope for some DNFs on that front. Upgrade-wise, this will be the last upgrade we can get on the car for the rest of the season. An ultimate upgrade will go on the car in time for Abu Dhabi. And so the upgrade that I am favoring is the weight redistribution. I actually factored in putting in a quality control upgrade just to make sure that this part didn't fail. We're going to put it on now. The failure chance goes from 22% to 13%. So let's hope that that actually goes on the car, and we could potentially have a race-winning car either for Brazil or at best, or what I'm hoping for, is Abu Dhabi. We'll have to wait and see. This is now the US Grand Prix. You can see Racing Point now shoot to the best car. They've been the best car actually for 2 rounds now. Mercedes leveling out in terms of performance. We're still continuing to move up the order. McLaren also making solid ground in the development race too. They're really mixing it up there with the likes of Alfa Romeo, Williams, and even challenging Red Bull a little bit in some of the races. They have got early leads here or there. But this is the US Grand Prix qualifying, and it's not been a good qualifying, even with an ultimate front downforce upgrade. The upgrade that I really thought was going to make a difference in this season, and it's just done nothing for us. 1.6 seconds off the pace. Danny Kvyat is actually faster than us in this session, and that really just showcases the story of this career mode. It's not the first time this has happened as well. We upgrade the car, and it actually, more than anything, feels like we get slower, which just Just makes me so angry.
It's a steep incline into turn 1 that'll help you scrub speed off. There are multiple lines, so be sure to make use of them.
Part of the problem as to why we're struggling so much is, yes, one, the more upgrades that get applied to AI teams, the more that they can be skewed in terms of unrealistic lap times in qualifying. But the faster this car gets, the more that the Pirelli tires actually struggle to keep them going around the circuit, because we're actually going so fast that the tires are overheating so much, and it's only affecting the player, not the AI, which is really nerfing my performance. And this is something that I didn't change while doing this playthrough of the rest of the season. But what I will do in the future is actually turn off the simulation tire carcass temperatures, because that's really just what is melting our performance, like quite literally. And this is the race where it really happens the worst, as we start the race on the soft compound tires. Made some good ground initially on the first 2 laps, but after lap 2, the tires really started to overheat, especially the front tires, and you can see we're actually losing touch with Devin Butler just up the road. The left front tire is on 105 degrees on a straight, which is rather concerning. There's no long or high-speed corners to be seen in this section of the circuit. But halfway through the race, you can see Sergio Perez going for a big boy dive bomb on Hamilton, and he probably remembered me from Russia, and so he just thought, yeah, let's just send this guy off. But it didn't really work out too well for him, and he will drop down to last place. Danny Kvyat also favoured well from that, as he overtook everyone around the outside under yellow flags. But regardless, Kvyat as well is a big disappointment this season. 108 degrees on the left front tyre, and enough's enough. Time to get rid of these tyres, onto the mediums. Let's hope that these tyres cope a little bit better with the tyre temperatures. I actually dived it in like 2 or 3 laps earlier than what was scheduled. In these 25% races, you can carry the softs quite a long way, but the soft tyres just weren't working out very well for us at all. Daniel Ricciardo, another race, another retirement. Same old story. Doesn't matter if it's Red Bull, if it's Renault in real life, or now Racing Point. Daniel Ricciardo is the worst luck in terms of reliability ever. But anyway, Lucas Weber wins the US Grand Prix. He needed to win this race. He has done so. But crucially, Max Verstappen shadowing him there in P2. And I believe that Max got the fastest lap as well. So the advantage that Lucas got from this race was rather minimal. Only 6 points gained in the driver's standings. That last race in Mexico has really harmed Lucas Weber's championship. There's 50 points still on offer, or 52 points still on offer with fastest laps. But Verstappen needs to be DNFing at this point. We're sitting P11 in the standings, which is actually a rather contentious position in the championship. Out of all of my seasons of career mode I've ever done, from F1 2010 to now, the worst position I've ever finished in a championship is P11, and we are in danger of equaling that, or even worse, being beaten by 1 or 2 drivers who are continuing to upgrade. I'm looking at those McLaren drivers who are pretty speedy at this stage. So too the Ferrari guys, if they have an uptake in performance, will be up a creek without a paddle. We'll say that much. But anyway, we move on to the penultimate race of the season, the Brazilian Grand Prix. We did an ERS upgrade for this race. It was a minor one, but we also have the ultimate power upgrade for this Grand Prix. And this will really be the true test. This will be make or break for Toro Rosso and the future of this team going forward in this career mode series. Because this is really the last sizable upgrade that we'll have to make. The only other upgrades we've got in the pipeline now are the weight redistribution, which will slightly make the handling better. We've got a couple of ERS upgrades. We've got one tire wear upgrade. Those are really just consistency in race upgrades that'll help. But apart from that, there is one ultimate brake upgrade. But I really don't think it'll make as much of a difference as what an ultimate power upgrade will. But again, it continues to be a non-appearance in the top 10. It is P11 once again. which gives us, yes, a good starting position for the race. We can start on mediums and do the softs, that kind of OP strategy we've been utilizing for us lately. I think Kvyat got P14 in qualifying, if I remember correctly. So Kvyat finally showing some potential, but I don't think it's quite enough. And I feel like unless we perform in the race today, then I don't imagine Toro Rosso will ever be able to win a race.
Okay, you've qualified higher than we expected, so let's try to build on this position throughout the race.
I say that because we pretty much, we're at the ceiling now in terms of raw performance upgrades. We can do a few more things, like I said, those consistency upgrades, but overall, there's not too much that's going to give us the outright performance that is going to be able to challenge the likes of Red Bull, for example. So it'll be interesting. We'll get close, but we'll just never be a top flight car like I was hoping we would be in this, Road to Glory series. It really does look ominous for whoever drives for this team in the next season, because they'll never be anything better than what they currently are at this stage. It's been an okay start. P8 in this Brazilian Grand Prix. We're tucked in right behind Charles Leclerc, which is a pretty good place to be. Hopefully we can utilize him to move our way through the field. We do have Lucas Weber behind us, though. He had a grid penalty for this race, and yeah, this is a race where he needs to win, and Verstappen needs to DNF. He is currently leading this race under a bit of pressure from one of the McLarens, which just takes the lead of the Grand Prix on the minimap. So, looks like Red Bull does have a couple of chinks in the armor, I suppose. McLaren really gunning for supremacy at the back end of Season 4. I've got to say, the car choice for us is going to be really interesting next season. Obviously, I do want to have like a race-winning car, but I still want to be in the same team as Lucas Weber if possible. Speaking of, here he goes up the inside on the start-finish straight. It's going to be nigh on impossible to keep this guy behind, but we will desperately try to do so as we go around the outside into turn 1. Very brave under brakes. That bravery, I suppose, pays off for us. P8 still in this race. Leclerc looking ever threatening on Devon Butler. He goes up the inside into turn 1. This is where all the action is happening. Middle sector, not too much overtaking really goes on, not unless there's a big tyre difference. We get a nice run out of the center S. Charles Leclerc looking a little bit vulnerable here. As we head into turn 4, we not only get Leclerc, but we get Butler as well, and we move up into P6. So a great little exchange there. It's worked out absolutely perfectly for us, because Devon, the slower car, follows me through, and he keeps Charles Leclerc at bay, but they also keep Lucas Weber behind them as well. And I spent the next lap or two just pulling away from that little train, and then made my stop, which you are seeing now. But while I was making my stop, you can see all this squabbling going on up the front between Kimi Räikkönen, that's Nico Hülkenberg, who's got a retirement, Sebastian Vettel. They're all getting held up, and we're just chilling in the pit lane, changing to the soft compound tyres to round out the rest of this race. We cut forward a couple of laps. We did get a few lap undercut, which definitely helps a little bit. We'll have the faster tyre for the rest of the race. We do manage to emerge just about in front of Lucas Weber, but this is going to be the fight for the ages for the final 3 laps of this Brazilian Grand Prix. Lucas Weber coming towards us, even with that slower tyre. So that really just showcases the difference between Toro Rosso and Red Bull. Here goes Weber around the outside, having to be really on the limit with what this car can deliver in order to keep Lucas Weber behind. And it looks like we're going to have to push that limit again on this second straight. He's squeezing Weber right up against the white lines there. That's on the limit, not only with performance, trying to keep him behind, but on the limit within the rules. But it is the last lap of the Grand Prix. Lucas has had enough of my crap. He goes for a dive bomb into turn 1. Doesn't quite work out for him though. And this again is going to be settled down into turn 4. He does have the DRS. Which way am I going to go? Looks like I'm planning to stay on the racing line. Lucas still there. There was that just faint little touch, but it wasn't enough for him to get through. Max Verstappen wins the race, and with that confirms his first ever championship on one of my career modes. We are going to lock out Lucas Weber and get a career best P4.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
A season best P4. Bloody hell, that'd be depressing if I'd only finished 4th in 4 seasons.
It's certainly been an incredible year for Formula One, and our drivers have all pushed themselves this season, making it one of the most compelling years of racing in history. There can only be one champion, however, and here they are now, our new Formula One World Drivers' Champion.
So there it is then, Max Verstappen is your champion of Season 4 of F1 2019 Career Mode. Had the best car, was arguably the best driver, and by far the most consistent. They take the top spoils in this season of Career Mode, and fair play. The Red Bull has just been a phenomenal car, and to be honest, like Lucas Weber, you guys know he's an absolute alien when it comes to consistency, speed, and overtaking as well. Fair play to Max for managing to overcome a teammate like that. But regardless, it is a pretty decent race for us. It's not every day you can say you can fight off someone who has clearly the best car. Really had to pull out all the stops there, but we managed to do that, and really proud of that drive as well. That was probably up there with one of the drives of the season, even though, you know, some people might probably argue that it wasn't quite there, but I really had to be on the ball every single corner just to make sure that I could keep that Red Bull at arm's reach. And yes, we did do some questionable defensive maneuvers in the process, but I think that was just the one where we squeezed them up against the white lines. But apart from that, it was all down to us. Upgrade-wise, we are doing the brakes. That's going to go on the car for next season. We won't be here, but that's just solidifying the package for Toro Rosso in the future, which I'm sure that they will appreciate. Ferrari running with us in terms of upgrades, heading into Abu Dhabi, and for the most part, everyone else really just staying the same. Qualifying was a good effort, P8, only 8 tenths away from the pace setters of Red Bull. Kvyat had a disappointing qualifying. I feel like, again, he just didn't get a good lap in, under delivering with the package that we have. We had an ultimate weight redistribution upgrade come in for this race as well, and Kvyat just falling way short of where this car truly belongs, which is quite a shame. But we now line up on the grid for the final time of this season, the final time that we will be racing in a Toro Rosso in a career mode on the F1 2019 game. That is unless, of course, we come back to this in 10 years' time or something ridiculous like that. We'll have to wait and see, but let's see if we can finish off in style and really, truly hammer home that this is a Road to Glory series. I feel like at some point there has to be some level of glory achieved, and hopefully that race victory could come today when the package is at its absolute best. But so is everyone else in the field. I feel like 90% of the field is at their ceiling now in terms of their performance. P8 putting pressure on Kevin Magnussen as we head into the middle sector chicane. The McLaren there of Sainz bouncing over those curbs, which is not going to do his suspension or his tyres all too good. But settling into this race already on lap 2, you can see the front left tyre was already on 105 degrees. So again, this is a track which is highly restrictive of your pace because of the tyre temperatures. You're overheating, and the tyres just don't want to cooperate. They don't want to perform for you. It just gives you walls of understeer, especially if it's on the fronts. If you're overheating on the rears, you're just sliding around everywhere, and that's probably even worse than having overheating fronts, to be honest. It's this hairpin here that just the temperatures just really climb. And then in the third sector, the temperatures are pretty high there, but I don't think they're as high, but it still feels uncomfortable to really dance the car around the hotel section. It really knocks around the confidence. We make a pit stop onto the mediums, and hopefully hopefully the tire temperatures will be better in this stint. As proven in USA, the harder the compound, the more capable it can deal with temperatures, so I'm hoping we'll have a bit more pace in this second half of the race, side by side with Sainz on lap 8 here, and we do get the ascendancy. However, that McLaren is scarily fast at this point in the career mode. Like I said, one of these two cars was finding a way with Max Verstappen for the lead of the last race, so The McLarens are no slouch at this point, and neither are we to a degree. Nearly maxed out our car. Only have a brake upgrade, we got a couple of ERS upgrades, and we have a DRS upgrade, and that's it. Oh, we have a tyre wear upgrade. Apart from that, this Toro Rosso is maxed out, so this is essentially as good as it's going to get, pretty much, in this championship. You can see a double lunge from Raikkonen and Norris into the hairpins in between the two straights. Here's the onboard from Norris. Look at this. Norris is completely off the circuit. Raikkonen's move is a bit questionable, but Norris, that's just... What are you doing there, mate? That's just impossible. In what world is this going to work? 3 wide into the hairpin. I mean, I squeezed out Raikkonen squeezed out Norris, and then we all just kind of pile-drived into each other at the right-hander, and somehow we all managed to get away with A, not spinning, B, not getting damage, and C, not really losing too much time, in all honesty. That was a miracle that we all got through that. But it's P8 still. It's just an absolute circus back here in P8. It's just... What's going on? Is this a sign of things to come in Season 5, where just everyone is pretty much identically matched on pace? Raikkonen and... what's his name? Lando Norris, they're just fighting away now for P9 in this race, and that's allowing me to actually skip away a little bit. I've got a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. Danny Kvyat is entering the fray, and for the first time this season, he might potentially get a point. I really do hope he can pull this off, because the first 20 races of the season, Kvyat has done stuff all for the team. He's made absolutely no contribution. Today might finally be his day, and hell, that I'd settle for that being the glory that Toro Rosso can get. But anyway, Kvyat overtook Leclerc, who had front wing damage, and then immediately Leclerc re-overtook Kvyat, and Kvyat actually lost a place to Devin Butler on the straight. So that just sums up Kvyat's season. It looked kind of promising for a couple of seconds there, and then he just, 1 step forward, 2 steps back for Kvyat. Whereas I'm the 2 steps forward, 1 step back guy on this side of the garage. Last lap of the Grand Prix, we're trying to chase down Lando Norris. I did let him go in an effort to steal his slipstream and DRS so that I could pull away from those behind and build out a 3-second gap. It looks like that might work for me as Max Verstappen crosses the line to end what has been a pretty successful season for Red Bull. Lucas Weber, P2. Again, he's going to have to go back to the drawing board and come back stronger next year in Season 5. But for us, it is going to be P9. Not the greatest send-off in the world for Toro Rosso, but I can honestly say it's been a pretty fun journey.
That's it, what a season. Great work this year, really great work. It's been hard at times, but we've come through.
Thanks, Jeff. It really has been an interesting journey. One which I really didn't see it panning out this way, in all honesty. I thought that we would have made... Well, I might have thought that we'd probably be in the position that we're in now, but I actually would have thought that, like, we would have been able to move a lot further forward, while I didn't expect the other teams to really progress as much as what they did. And really, it meant that our growth this season was, I don't know, neutralized by how good all the other teams were in the sport. But that's the risk of Season 4. The risk of switching to a team that doesn't have much resources, much department efficiency upgrades, quality control, the like. Whereas I feel like a lot of the other teams had their department efficiency upgrades, and they could potentially upgrade faster than us. But at the end of the day, it is P11 in the standings, therefore equaling the worst season of career mode I have ever had. I didn't know until someone told me in the comments of one of my previous videos. But there we go. P11, like, as a worse championship position as you can get. Like, that P11 isn't too bad at all, considering some of the absolute tractors we have driven in previous career modes. But that is this season, guys. We didn't, unfortunately, get glory, but even if we continue on with this car into Season 5, into Season 6, there is no guarantee that glory will ever be possible in this car. Coming into this, my definition of getting glory would have been getting a race win. Now that you can get lucky on one day, but winning a championship, which is the true nature of getting glory, that, my friends, is just impossible with this car. And so with that, it is time to say goodbye to the Toro Rosso. We've done all we can in terms of upgrades, but it is time to let this ship sail into the iceberg, and we... what am I saying? Red Bull, here we come.
Nice job this season. You've been performing well, and that's putting us in a strong negotiating position contract-wise. Plus, my 10%'s getting more valuable. So enjoy your break, and keep up the good work next year. Great work. That's exactly the kind of result I'm looking for. Keep it up.
Do you guys remember this time 1 season ago? We had just been edged out for the championship, and Emma was absolutely done with us. And we got kicked out of Ferrari, but we are finishing P4, P5-ish, and she's singing our praises. It's time for Red Bull. We're going to go for first driver status. I'm hoping that this will displace Verstappen out of the team, and we will have our young German F2 rival as our teammate. So let's propose, and hopefully she says yes.
They aren't coming round to that proposal. Let's try something else.
Dang. Bought a wedding ring and everything, and still not good enough for Emma. Alright, let's lower the terms. We don't really need resource points. This car is maxed out anyway, so let's hope that the team is happy with this.
Our proposal has been accepted. You'll be moving to the new team for the race weekend.
Oh, sorry guys. I don't know what came over me there. I was just a little bit excited that I just got out of the worst possible seat in Formula 1, and I've stepped straight into the best one with my old friend, Mr. Lucas Weber. I think I just did a happy wee. But anyway, that is this season of Career Mode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you did enjoy. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to see plenty more racing game content. Yeah, what a mess Season 4 has been. I honestly thought that we were going to get some glory. We were going to make more of an impact on the championship, but the other teams were just so good at developing that it really just left us stuck in the mud, essentially. But it was a good season nonetheless. Like the racing that we were able to get through the back of the pack, and then of course progressing into the midfield. We saw some of the most exciting races I have seen in career mode in recent history. Like F1 2019, the AI are that much better, and I hope that this trend will continue into the new game, that is 2020. But we have one last thing to do on this game, and that is to step into the same car as our F2 rival and former teammate, Lucas Weber. We still need to win a Constructors' Championship. I haven't had a formidable teammate as of yet. Yes, I had Hamilton for like 3 or 4 races or 5 races at Ferrari before he completely turfed me out of the team. But now we're going to do it on our terms, on the hardest difficulty, in the best car. I can't wait. And hopefully you guys will enjoy the spectacle as well. With that said, thank you so much for watching. Season 4, it's been fun. But let's kick it up a gear in Season 5.
Just